This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. The only woman I ever loved was Hailey. After we had been dating for 7 years, she shared a photo of holding hands on her blog. I want to wear a beautiful wedding dress and marry the man in my heart. But the man holding her hand wasn't me. That day happened to be the day I was going to propose. She chose someone else. I let out a cold laugh and immediately took a picture of the ring with my phone, then posted it on my blog. Proposal canceled. The ring is free. Contact me if interested. I logged out of Facebook and called my assistant. Bame, tell them to stop the setup. Pay them as agreed. Bame was stunned for a moment. President Rockey, aren't you proposing today? Not anymore. Forget the proposal. I tossed the ring box to Bame and walked out. As soon as I got in the car, Hailey called me. When I answered, Hailey's anxious voice came through. Rockey, what do you mean by your blog post? I raised an eyebrow. Exactly what it says. Hailey, let's break up. I wish you happiness. Rockey, stop messing around. I had something going on today. I had no idea you were going to propose. You randomly post that the proposal is off. What does that even mean? We've been together for 7 years. How can you just dump me without saying a word? For what reason? I laughed. How could Hailey be so shameless? Hailey, you might have slipped and forgot to block me from your blog. Sorry, I happened to see it. Your something going on was meeting your true love, wasn't it? Since you want to marry him so badly, I'm letting you go. Hailey sounded panicked, her tone no longer as firm. Rockey, what are you talking about? That blog post. It was just a friend messing around with my phone. I let out a cold snort. Hailey, I'm not an idiot who jokes around by posting a hand-holding photo. Let's part ways with dignity. No need to contact me again. Goodbye. Without waiting for her to respond, I hung up. Hailey and I went to the same university, but I was a year ahead of her. When I first met Hailey, she was sitting alone crying outside the boys' dorm. I walked up to her and handed her a tissue. She grabbed me and started venting. She said she had just broken up with her boyfriend. His family arranged for him to study abroad, and they broke up after an argument. All I could do was comfort her silently. Later, she asked for my contact info. Gradually, we got closer. I started to understand her more. She loved small animals and was very caring. She was a bit spoiled, but still very cute. Eventually, she confessed her feelings to me. I knew she saw me as an emotional crutch, but I still agreed. Over the past 7 years, I've asked myself, and I've never wronged Hailey. Whenever she got upset, I'd find out why and make her feel better. There were a few times when she spilled coffee on my important documents while I was working. I asked her why she did that. I was in a bad mood, so I spilled it. I never scolded her. I just redid the work. I always thought, she's younger than me. I should be the one to accommodate her. She didn't love me enough, but that was okay, because I loved her. After 7 years together, I had prepared myself to walk down the aisle with her, but she chose to hold someone else's hand. 7 years together, but I still couldn't compare to the man in her heart. They say no woman can surpass a man's first love, but the truth is, men can't either. Just as I arrived at the office, I got a call from my mom. Rockey, did you and Hailey have a fight? I couldn't help but frown. She called you? Yes, she was crying nonstop. Crying? I'm the one who's been played for 7 years. What does she have to cry about? I chuckled. Mom, what did Hailey tell you? Not much, just crying and saying you don't want her anymore. I don't want her? I smiled bitterly. Only now do I realize how foolish I used to be. Let it be. I'll take the blame. Sort of. We broke up. I realized we're not right for each other. There was a brief silence on the other end before my mom sighed in relief. Rockey, you're an adult now. You know what's best for yourself. I know, Mom. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up. I have work to do. Wait, hold on. By the way, remember to come home in a few days. Serena is coming back. I was momentarily stunned. All right, I'll be there. Serena coming back now? Could it be to laugh at me? Suddenly, I felt a bit down. Serena is my childhood friend. Our families are neighbors. We grew up together. There was never any romance between us, just a lot of bickering and arguing. In high school, Serena chose to study abroad. At first, we stayed in touch often. She'd share her life abroad with me, telling me about the people she met, the food she ate. How did we start losing touch? It seems like it was one morning. I received a message from her. Rockey, I think I like someone. I quietly looked into the guy, and after confirming he was a decent person, I let it go. I subconsciously distanced myself from Serena, afraid of causing any misunderstandings. Later, I met Hailey. When I think about it, it's been 10 years since we last talked. President Rockey, aren't you going home tonight? I lifted my head in confusion from the pile of documents. What day is it today? The 10th. I raised my hand and glanced at my watch. Damn, it was already 6 p.m. I've been so busy with work this past week that I nearly missed the party. Bame, where's the gift I asked you to prepare? Bame handed me the gift box with both hands. I opened it for a quick look. As expected, custom-made gifts look great. Satisfied, I closed the box. Let's go. Luckily, there was no traffic, and I arrived home in half an hour. I hurriedly grabbed the gift I prepared and headed straight to Serena's house next door. The party hadn't officially started yet, but many people had already arrived. I immediately spotted Serena in the center of the crowd. I couldn't help but smile and quickly walked over to her. Well, look who it is. Isn't this the great Miss Serena? Hearing my voice, Serena turned around, her face lighting up with joy. But the next second, she gave a proud huff. What brings you here, President Rockey? Oh, I heard someone got dumped recently. How's that going? Still nursing your broken heart? I gave a helpless smile. She's still the same Serena. Just from my blog post, she figured out what happened. I quietly grabbed a small cake from the table nearby and mischievously shoved it into her mouth. Shut up. MMPH. Rockey, if my makeup gets ruined, you'll fix it for me. Watching her frantically check her makeup, I couldn't help but laugh. Don't worry, you still look gorgeous. I handed Serena the gift I prepared. But if you add this gift I brought, you'll look even more stunning. Serena, welcome back. Serena's eyes lit up when she saw the necklace. She smiled so widely it looked like her face would crack, but she still had to put up a front. Tisk, just a necklace? You think you can buy me off with this? She pouted, but then said, but this necklace looks pretty nice. Put it on for me. I chuckled, not exposing her act. Silently, I took out the necklace and helped her put it on. Just as I finished, before I could compliment her, two people walked over. I raised my eyes, surprised. I didn't know the man, but the woman beside him was Hailey. So, this man must be her so-called true love, Peter. Serena tugged on my sleeve, and I naturally leaned down. Serena whispered softly in my ear, "Is that her?" I nodded. Tisk. Peter, with a flattering smile, extended his hand to Serena. Serena, long time no see. I didn't know you were back in the country. If I'd known, I would have delayed my return to come back with you. I squinted slightly. Hailey, unconsciously, loosened her grip on Peter's hand and anxiously looked at me. Rockey, let me explain. Serena let out a cold laugh and immediately hooked her arm around mine. I smiled but didn't stop her. Serena leaned against me and asked playfully, "Darling, who is she?" I raised an eyebrow, finding Serena unexpectedly cute in this moment. I glanced indifferently at Hailey, who was looking at me in disbelief. I smiled, leaned down, and couldn't resist pinching Serena's nose. Nobody. Serena glared at me angrily before turning to Peter with a grin. Peter, in the future, don't bring just anyone around me. I'm the star of tonight's party, and some people just show up trying to get close, even eyeing my boyfriend. I'm right here as his official girlfriend, but some people, wow? Serena glanced at Hailey and snorted disdainfully. So tacky. I couldn't help but smirk. Serena's acting was so convincing, even I almost believed it. And honestly, it felt pretty good. Peter awkwardly withdrew his hand, his gaze shifting nervously between Hailey and me. He quickly apologized several times and hurriedly pulled Hailey away. But Hailey kept looking back, her face full of hatred as she stared at me. I laughed bitterly to myself. Hailey, what right do you have to hate me? After Peter and Hailey left, Serena immediately let go of my arm. I smiled, wanting to ruffle her hair, but seeing her perfectly styled hair, I refrained. How do you know Peter? Serena pouted. Met him abroad. His family does some business with mine. Later, we ended up at the same university, and we ran into each other at some social events. That's how we know each other. But we're not close. This time, my family invited Peter, and he tagged along. I nodded, not pressing further. Serena gave me a curious look. Aren't you going to ask more? Aren't you curious about what kind of person Peter is? I looked at her skeptically. Why would I need to know? Isn't Hailey your ex-girlfriend? Don't you want to know more about Peter? I shook my head. No need. The moment I saw Hailey's blog post, I let go of the past. Whoever she ends up with, whatever kind of person he is, it has nothing to do with me, Rockey. Serena suddenly grabbed me, her small face full of displeasure. What now? Rockey, I just helped you out in front of your ex, so you wouldn't embarrass yourself, and you're not even going to thank me? I chuckled, thinking that's all it was. Thank you, Miss Serena. What bag have you got your eye on? I'll get it for you. To my surprise, Serena's face darkened even more. Is that how you used to sweet-talk your ex? I was stunned for a moment. What does this have to do with Hailey? Why are you comparing yourself to Hailey? Besides, I distinctly remember you saying that when you're mad, I should buy you a bag. Serena angrily shoved me. You're hopeless. Serves you right for getting cheated on. Me? What the fuck? What does this have to do with me being cheated on? And stop bringing up that I got cheated on. Do I have no pride? Serena stormed off angrily, leaving me utterly confused. What's with her temper lately? I sighed and quietly put down my glass, getting ready to find Serena. Just then, my phone rang. I took it out and seeing the caller ID, I couldn't help but frown. It was Hailey. Out of courtesy, I answered the call. Miss Hailey, what is it? There was a brief pause on the other end before a teary voice emerged. Rockey, can you come out for a moment? I need to talk to you. I'm waiting outside. Before I could finish, Hailey hung up. I looked around but couldn't spot Serena anywhere. Sighing again, I headed out to meet Hailey. As soon as I stepped out of Serena's house, I saw Hailey standing alone outside. Peter wasn't with her. I stopped a few steps away from her. Miss Hailey, what do you need? Hailey looked at me with tear-filled eyes. What's going on between you and Serena? I looked at her indifferently. Is that what you wanted to ask me? Didn't I make it clear earlier? Hailey let out an incredulous laugh. Rockey, you moved on that quickly? So, you were already with that rich Serena, and that's why you broke up with me so fast, huh? What does she have that I don't? More money? She's younger than me? She's been abroad for so long. Who knows what she's been up to? Maybe she's pregnant with someone else's child, and came back to find you as the fool to take responsibility, and you're just happily jumping in. Rockey, you make me sick. Is your love for me that cheap? I looked at her coldly. Hailey, show some respect for Serena. Secondly, even if you can't appreciate her, couldn't you have asked your precious Peter? Serena and I have been neighbors since childhood. We grew up together. Our families are on equal footing. There's no such thing as using one another. And let me tell you, the one who cheapened our relationship was you, not me. Hailey's face went pale. That can't be true. You just own a small company, don't you? I scoffed, not bothering to explain further. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. I turned to leave, but Hailey suddenly rushed over and grabbed my arm. No, Rockey, I'm ordering you. Break up with Serena. I shook her off, exasperated. Why? What right do you have? Hailey hesitated, panic in her eyes. Because you lied to me. We were together for 7 years, and you never told me your true identity. I let out a bitter laugh. How could she be so shameless? I looked at her coldly. Didn't I try to tell you? I suggested you come home with me to meet my parents, but you always found an excuse not to. In the end, my mom had to lower herself and come meet you, and she even asked for your contact information. Every year on your birthday, she called to wish you happy birthday, and I deliver the gifts she prepared for you. And you? You were always so dismissive. Whenever I invited you to join my friends' gatherings, you always made excuses, saying it was too much trouble. And when I said I wanted to meet your friends, you refused and even questioned my motives. Hailey, in 7 years, I never became part of your world, and you never wanted to be part of mine. I exhaled deeply. I'd always known about the problems between us, but back then, I thought it was just her insecurity. I believed that as long as I gave her a home, things would gradually improve. But now I understand there were never any real excuses. Love, or lack of it, is painfully obvious. Hailey, in a way, I should thank you. We were so incompatible, and I was blind to it. Thank you for choosing Peter, because it made me see things clearly. No, Rockey, listen to me. It's not like that. I wasn't avoiding your parents. I just wasn't ready. I gave her a cold smile. There's nothing left to explain, Miss Hailey. I've made everything clear. I wish you happiness. I turned to leave, but then I remembered something. Oh, by the way, I slowly turned back to her. Miss Hailey, it's time for you to move out. I've decided to return the apartment. Hailey froze, staring at me in disbelief. Are you kicking me out? Rockey, I gave you 7 years of my youth, and now you want to throw me out. I lowered my head slightly, looking at her calmly. Hailey, your youth is precious, but was mine not? And besides, you never truly gave those 7 years to me. After the banquet, I called Assistant Bame. I asked him to take some time to sell the apartment in the west side of the city. I had bought that upscale apartment near Hailey's office to make her commute easier. Now that we've broken up, there's no need to indulge her anymore. After being busy for more than a month, I occasionally chatted with Serena, and I could still invite her out for a meal. It seemed no different from 10 years ago, yet it also felt somewhat different. I was lost in thought when Assistant Bame called me a few times. What's wrong? President Rockey, your phone is ringing. I looked around, and the others in the conference room were cautiously observing my expression. I lowered my head and took out my phone. It was Serena. You all continue. I picked up my phone and walked out of the conference room, then connected the call to Serena. Miss Serena, what's the matter? On the other end, Serena huffed softly. Busy person, where's my bag? I chuckled. We've been shopping for a few days and you didn't like any of those? Please, it's not about liking or disliking. It's about seeing the intent. Did you waste 7 years in a relationship? I felt a bit overwhelmed. I understood. At the beginning of my relationship with Hailey, I used to silently note down what she liked or what suited her. But after I bought those things for her, she merely tossed them aside in disdain, telling me not to put on airs and buy fakes. No matter how I explained, she never believed me. You, who doesn't wear any brands, can afford to buy me real Hermes? Rockey, are you kidding me? But she didn't know that my clothes were custom-made, worth far more than those brands covered in logos. She never cared to understand me better. After accumulating so much disappointment, I was no longer willing to invest my heart too much. Many times, I was unsure what the 7 years with Hailey was for. Perhaps it was out of reluctance. Perhaps it was out of obligation. Once, I did like her, but that had long been exhausted by her. I remained silent for a long time, and then Serena's voice came through the phone. Hello? Hello? Rockey. I'm here. Sorry, I brought up a sad topic. I couldn't help but chuckle. When did Miss Serena become so polite to me? Did you call me just for this? No, tonight I'm going to the bar with Alice and the others. They asked me to see if you're free to join. I couldn't help but frown. It wasn't that I didn't trust Alice. Alice also grew up in the same circle and had a good relationship with Serena. What I was worried about was Serena. Why are you going to the bar? Don't you know how chaotic it is there? Serena sounded a bit displeased. Rockey, I'm not a child anymore. Just say whether you're coming or not. What time are you going? Probably around 7. Okay, I'll come pick you up later. After hanging up the phone, I glanced at my watch. It was already 5 o'clock. I walked back into the conference room and looked around. Everyone, let's adjourn the meeting for today. I hurried back to my office, and Assistant Bame followed closely behind. President Rockey, is there something urgent? I nodded. Please take me to a mall first to pick a gift for Serena. Then take me to the bar. Assistant Bame smiled. It seems that was definitely Miss Serena's call just now. Only a call from Miss Serena could make you end the meeting like this. I was momentarily taken aback. Is that so? Assistant Bame nodded confidently. Earlier, when Miss Hailey called, you would only return her call after finishing your tasks. I fell silent. Assistant Bame was actually wrong. When I first started dating Hailey, I would answer her calls immediately, no matter when, but every time I answered, she would vent her anger at me, as if I were her trash can. Later, I graduated before her and began to take over the family business. Once, after staying up for 2 nights to work on a proposal, she called, demanding I come find her. I dropped everything and ran back to the apartment I rented for her, but I went at the wrong time. I happened to catch Hailey on the phone with Peter, crying that she missed him. After Hailey graduated, she suggested we live together. I bought an apartment near her company and commuted between the east and west of the city every day. But countless nights, she would sneak out of bed to make phone calls on the balcony. I wasn't unaware. I was just deceiving myself, and the sudden and somewhat hurried breakup was never premeditated. It was simply a buildup of disappointment. I smiled lightly, not explaining too much to Assistant Bame. I grabbed my coat and walked out. Let's go. I need to pick a gift for the young lady. After wandering around the mall for a long time, I still couldn't find anything suitable. I sighed. Just then, Serena's call came through. Hello, Serena. Hey, Rockey, are you still busy? We're about to start. I looked at my watch, and it was already 7 o'clock. Are you there? Of course. I'm not waiting for you. Serena hung up the phone directly. I felt my head ache. Why was Serena in such a bad mood today? Assistant Bame, I'm not buying anything. I'm going over now. I hurried outside the mall. President Rockey, isn't Miss Serena with friends? Do you really need to rush? I smiled helplessly. Serena's drinking ability is terrible. She's clumsy and loves to drink, and she also loves to get drunk. I'm worried she'll get carried away, and if Alice and the others can't control her, she might hurt herself. Assistant Bame chuckled. President Rockey and Miss Serena have a really good relationship. Is that so? I had no time to think about anything else and hurried to the parking lot. Just as I stepped out of the elevator, I accidentally bumped into someone. Sorry. I quickly apologized and left. After getting into the car, Assistant Bame seemed to want to say something. I raised an eyebrow. What's wrong? President Rockey, the person you just bumped into, seemed to be Miss Hailey. Hailey? I nodded. Got it, let's hurry up. As soon as I entered the private room, I saw Serena holding a bottle of wine and crying. Wow, Alice, woo-woo, I feel so miserable. Hick, I couldn't help but laugh. You, what are you laughing at? Can't you see I'm crying and feeling terrible? Hey, you look a lot like Rockey. Is that you, Rockey? Serena swayed unsteadily as she walked toward me, and I hurried to support her. When Alice saw it was me, she let out a sigh of relief. Rockey, you finally made it. Hurry up and take her away. Alice, how much has she drunk? Why didn't you stop her? Wow, it's easy for you to say that. You know what Serena is like. How could I stop her? I felt somewhat helpless. Then why did you insist on bringing her out to drink? Alice looked innocent. I didn't. Serena said she was feeling down and insisted I come drink with her. I looked down at Serena, who was still mumbling in my arms. Is she feeling down? What's wrong? I felt a bit anxious. Silently, I picked up Serena's bag and helped her toward the exit. Just outside the private room, Serena became unhappy. Who are you? What do you want? I rubbed her little head. Her vigilance was too low. Serena, it's me, Rockey. Rockey, is that really you? Serena's eyes widened, sparkling with tears as she looked at me. I gently wiped her tears, feeling a bit heartbroken. Yes, it's me, Serena. Shall we go home? Serena nodded lightly, but then pushed me away the next second. I was a bit confused. Serena pouted and pointed at me. Carry me. If you don't carry me, I won't leave. I couldn't help but laugh. How did drinking turn into a little tantrum? I silently hung her bag around my neck and squatted down. Miss Serena, please. Serena huffed softly and leaned unsteadily against my back. I felt a jolt in my heart and gently lifted her legs. Serena, if you're uncomfortable, just tell me. Serena giggled and whispered in my ear. I won't. If I get dizzy, I'll just throw up on you. Ha 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 ha. That's what you get for always bullying me. I bully her? From childhood to now, when have I not let her win? I shook my head helplessly and slowly carried her out of the bar. Fortunately, her car was parked in a conspicuous spot, and it didn't take long to find it. I put Serena down, found the car keys from her bag, opened the passenger door, and helped Serena into the car. Just as I was about to close the door, someone pulled me from behind. I turned to see it was Hailey. Hailey's eyes turned red, and tears streamed down her face. Rockey, I gently pulled my hand away. Miss Hailey, is there something you need? I'm quite busy right now. Rockey, please let me explain. Hailey anxiously grabbed my sleeve again. Rockey, there's nothing between Peter and me, really. I've only been in touch with him because, you know, my family went through such a big ordeal. Peter helped me selflessly, and I feel guilty. I don't know how to repay him. I pushed her away again and stuffed my hands in my pockets. I looked at Hailey indifferently. So what? A few years ago, Hailey's family fell into debt because of her father's gambling, and he left her and her mother. The creditors couldn't find him and came to Hailey's mother's house daily to demand payment. After learning about it, I secretly helped her pay off the debts, but I didn't know how this had become Peter's doing. Hailey looked flustered and nervously stared at me. So, Rockey, you can understand, right? The misunderstanding has been cleared up. Let's reconcile, okay? Didn't you like me a lot? Last time, you complained so much to me, which proves you still care about me, right? I can go meet your parents. And your friends, I'll meet them too. Let's get back together, Rockey. I couldn't help but chuckle. It was the first time I realized someone could be so self-righteous. Before I could say anything, Serena stumbled out of the car. I hurried to support her. Why did you get down? Are you not feeling well? Get away. Serena glared at me fiercely and shook off my hand. She suddenly turned and looked at Hailey. Hailey, are you an idiot? Your family's issues. Can Peter really help you when he's out partying every day? Let me tell you, the one who paid your family's debts was never Peter. It was Rockey. I don't know why Peter wants to take credit for it, but you're an adult, right? Can't you think for yourself? I see you don't lack the ability to think. You just hope it's Peter who's helping you. You've never really liked Rockey. You've always used him. You keep hanging on to Rockey while being ambiguous with Peter, feeling accomplished, right? Hailey, can you have some self-respect? My Rockey is such a good person. You're not worthy of him at all. I was a bit surprised. How did Serena know all this? And you? Serena suddenly turned back and punched me in the chest. Rockey, you're such an idiot. Can't you tell that Hailey is just a manipulative girl? You actually did all this for her. You actually... As Serena spoke, she began to cry aggrievedly. I hurried to wipe her tears. Why are you crying again? Okay, I'm the idiot. Don't be angry. Let's just go home, all right? Serena pushed me away angrily. I don't want to. I don't want you to take me. Rockey, I hate you." Serena turned and ran away. I was completely flustered, and buried memories suddenly flashed in my mind. Serena. I quickly closed the car door, locked it, and rushed off to find Serena. But Hailey suddenly hugged me from behind. "Woo-woo. Rockey, I'm so sorry. I really didn't know you were the one who helped my family." I was irritated and directly pulled Hailey's hands away. "Enough. I don't care whether you know or not. Don't bother me. I'm not into wearing green hats." I left Hailey behind and hurried in the direction Serena had gone. Serena, Serena, Serena. I frantically searched, just like I did back then. This time she was drunk. The area outside the bar was chaotic, and if any ill-intentioned people spotted her, I shouted Serena's name like a madman. As I passed an alley, I seemed to hear some sounds. "Hey, little girl all alone, huh? Look at this pretty face. Do you want your big brother to keep you company?" I couldn't see the girl clearly, but for some reason, I felt it was Serena. I quickly walked into the alley and just caught her voice. "I warn you, don't touch me." "Ha, little girl, you've got some fire in you. What if I do?" The next second, the man reached for Serena's waist. "Damn it." I ran over and punched the man, knocking him to the ground. "Damn it, do you want to die?" I furiously kept hitting him in the face, and Serena hurriedly pulled me back. "Rockey, stop. You'll kill him. If you don't leave, we're calling the police." The man on the ground scrambled to his feet, terrified, and limped away. I was panting heavily, struggling to calm myself down. After a moment, I pulled Serena and walked straight out of the alley. Serena kept struggling. "It hurts. Rockey, you're hurting me." I angrily pulled Serena closer, loosening my grip slightly. "Why are you running off like this? Do you forget how you almost got kidnapped when we were kids? I looked for you for 3 days. Do you want to do that again?" Serena froze and began to cry. I didn't mean it." My heart softened and I sighed. Whenever she cried, I was out of options. I carefully checked Serena's wrist, which was slightly red. "I'm sorry, Serena. I shouldn't have snapped at you or pulled you so hard." "Serena, can we go home?" Serena pouted with grievance. "What about Hailey?" I frowned. "Forget her. We're going home." Serena obediently nodded and allowed me to lead her back to the car. I remembered when I was 6 and Serena was 5. That time my parents took us to an amusement park. We had a little argument over something trivial. I was too immature back then, not understanding that I should be nice to her. I always bullied her. "Rockey, I hate you." She angrily turned and ran away, and I desperately tried to catch her, but the park was too crowded. I couldn't catch her at all. I panicked and searched everywhere, eventually finding my parents. They quickly contacted the police. The police arrived as fast as they could and started searching. But even with that, they couldn't find Serena. That was the first time I cried. I hated myself for being immature. I hated that I had to show off and argue with her. Serena was missing for 3 days, and I searched for her for 3 days. In the end, the police from a neighboring city brought her back. It turned out that day a trafficker had taken Serena, intending to sell her in the mountains overnight. It was only when they were at the train station that the police noticed the two of them didn't look quite alike. They nervously asked a question, and the trafficker tried to run out of fear. The police acted decisively and took the trafficker back for questioning. That's how Serena was returned. When she came back, she cried and rushed into my arms. "Woo-woo. Rockey, I'm so sorry. I thought I would never see you again." From that day on, I never argued with her again. Whenever she got angry, I would immediately comfort her. When she decided to go abroad, her parents initially disagreed. But fortunately, she chose to go to the country where her aunt lived. Our family even hired bodyguards to ensure her safety. I honestly didn't know what kind of feelings I had for Serena, but I was afraid of her getting hurt, afraid of her feeling wronged. Protecting Serena became my instinct. Even though we hadn't been in touch for 10 years, I still quietly kept an eye on her life. And she seemed to have quietly watched me too. I slowly parked the car in front of Serena's house and looked over at her. Since getting into the car, she had been crying and eventually she fell asleep. I got out of the car, opened the passenger door, and carefully picked up Serena. She leaned sweetly against me, peacefully asleep. I couldn't help but smile as I carried Serena into her house. The butler opened the door for me, but when he was about to greet me, I quietly gestured for him to stop. I carried Serena to her bedroom and gently placed her on the bed. I went to the bathroom, got a towel, dampened it with water, and wiped Serena's face. Fortunately, Serena usually didn't wear makeup. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble trying to take it off. I had to say, sleeping Serena was much cuter than when she was awake. I playfully ruffled her hair. Just as I was about to leave, Serena suddenly grabbed my sleeve. "Rockey, awake?" I bent down to take a closer look. Serena was still asleep. Was she dreaming? I sighed softly and leaned against the bed, allowing Serena to hold on to me. Suddenly, my phone rang loudly in the darkness. Worried it would wake Serena, I quickly hung up the call and silenced my phone. I glanced at my phone. It was a call from Hailey. I frowned and swiftly blocked her number. The next day when I woke up, what met my eyes was Serena, with her big eyes staring at me. Seeing me awake, Serena instinctively hurriedly closed her eyes. I chuckled softly and rubbed her head. You fell asleep later last night, so I carried you back to your house. But when I was about to leave, you held onto my sleeve and wouldn't let me go. I could only sleep against your bed. Serena responded with a muffled and then fell silent. I helplessly raised my hand. So, miss, can you let go now? Only then did Serena realize and quickly released her grip. Sorry, I couldn't help but pinch her cheek. It's okay. You sleep a bit longer. I'll head back first. Just as I was about to get up, Serena pulled my hand again. Wait, your hand is scratched. Let me get you some medicine. Serena quickly jumped out of bed and ran out of the room. I looked at my hand. It must have been scratched last night while fighting. Serena soon returned with alcohol and cotton. She gently lifted my hand, carefully wiping it while softly blowing on it. Afraid of hurting me, it was like comforting a child. I quietly watched her, feeling a warm sensation in my heart. All done, I snapped back to reality, rewarding her with a pat on the head. All right, you rest well. I'm off to work now. I quickly washed up at home, changed clothes, and headed to the company. When Assistant Bame saw me, he couldn't help but ask, President Rockey, did something good happen? You're so happy. It's the first time in all these years I've seen you this happy. I was momentarily taken aback. It seemed that way. Ever since Serena returned, I seemed to be smiling more. Could it be? I instinctively shook my head. Impossible. I've always seen Serena as a sister, but is that really all she is to me now? I couldn't figure it out. I could only choose to bury myself in work. President Rockey, the front desk called. A lady named Hailey wants to see you. Hailey? She must have asked Peter for my company address. Not seeing her, I didn't even look up, continuing with my work. After finally finishing, just as I was getting in my car to head home, a woman suddenly dashed out in front of the car. Assistant Bame slammed on the brakes. President Rockey, it's Miss Hailey. I got out of the car and looked at Hailey. Miss Hailey, are you trying to pull a fast one? Hailey was crying, looking pitiful, but I found her very annoying. Rockey, I didn't mean to. It's just that you won't see me. Rockey, can you give me one last chance? Let's sit down and talk properly. I promise I won't bother you anymore after this. I glanced at my watch. It wasn't too late, and I could still get Serena her favorite grilled steak. Fine, let's go to the restaurant downstairs. Hailey and I walked to the restaurant below the company, one in front of the other. As soon as the waiter arrived, Hailey eagerly ordered a glass of milk and a latte. She handed the milk to me. I know you don't like coffee or alcohol, so I specially ordered milk for you. I raised an eyebrow, silently moving the milk aside. What's the matter? Just say it. Hailey's eyes reddened, and she started to sob. Rockey, I know I made a mistake. I really didn't know that it was you who helped my family. I always thought it was Peter. I smiled faintly. Don't worry. I won't cause trouble for Peter over this. He's not worth my attention. Hailey quickly shook her head. No, that's not what I mean. Rockey, after breaking up with you, I truly saw my own heart. I was only unwilling to accept Peter. Rockey, I love you. I've never betrayed you, Rockey. Can you give me another chance? Suddenly, Hailey stood up, kneeling halfway on the ground, and took out a ring box. Rockey, will you marry me? Surrounding onlookers, not understanding the situation, started to cheer, urging me to agree. After all, it was rare for a girl to propose. I looked at Hailey with indifference and sneered. I slowly got up, pulling Hailey up. Miss Hailey, whether you're trying to repay me for helping your family, or after careful consideration, you realize my conditions are better than Peter's, I don't care. But I know one thing for sure. Hailey, you don't love me. You only love yourself. I'm lactose intolerant and never drink milk. It's not that I don't drink alcohol. It's just that every time I drink, I don't show up in front of you because you used to scold me loudly, saying you hated me drinking. Maybe it was because of how I acted when I was drunk. That made you unable to see Peter for who he is. As for whether you've betrayed me, does it really matter? Looking at Hailey, who still wanted to argue, I completely lost my patience. Miss Hailey, my time is precious. I won't continue this charade. I'll say it again. I wish you happiness. If you truly feel sorry for me, then you can pay me back. I hurried to buy the grilled steak and returned home. As soon as I got out of the car, I called Serena, but no one picked up. What's going on? Did she fall asleep again? But she had just messaged me in the afternoon, saying she wanted to eat grilled steak. I knocked on Serena's door. Young Master Rockey, Uncle Zhang, is Serena at home? Yes, she's in her room. I nodded and quickly went upstairs. Serena, I bought the grilled steak you wanted. Come out to eat. Serena? Serena? Are you asleep? No matter how much I called, Serena didn't respond. Has she really fallen asleep? I sighed and quietly went downstairs, handing the roasted duck to the servant. I sat in Serena's house for a while, but she still didn't come down. I had no choice but to return to my own home. But the next day, I still didn't see Serena. On the third day, still nothing. The fourth day, the fifth day, no matter how many messages I sent her, she didn't reply. It seemed like she was deliberately avoiding me. I felt inexplicably irritated. Even work didn't hold my interest. President Rockey, are you troubled about Miss Serena? I lifted my gaze, looking coldly at Bame, my assistant, who had asked me. Bame awkwardly adjusted his glasses. President Rockey, I didn't mean anything by it. It's just, if you had a fight with Miss Serena, you could just coax her. I became even more annoyed. Bame, what do you think is the reason? Someone suddenly stops talking to you for no reason? Miss Serena is ignoring you? TSK. I shot a glare at Bame. Ahem. President Rockey, when it comes to girlfriends, you need to be a little thick-skinned, cling to her, and coax her. Isn't that all you need to do? I frowned. Serena is not my girlfriend, isn't she? But the way you are, it's obvious you like Miss Serena. I like Serena? I was taken aback. Bame continued to talk to me, giving many examples, even comparing my attitude towards Hailey with that towards Serena. I recalled many moments. I thought about the bits and pieces with Serena. In the end, I realized my feelings for Serena are not simple at all. But now, she is ignoring me. What should I do? I called my mom, hoping she could help me out, but I never expected things to go beyond my expectations. Serena? She's been busy dating her blind date lately. Me? Blind date? What blind date? Whose is it? Why didn't you tell me? Where are they now? I asked my mom for the location and rushed out of the company, but when I arrived at the destination, I became scared. Serena, does she just see me as an older brother? Then, as her brother, isn't it okay for me to look out for her? Of course it is. I took a deep breath. Finding an excuse for myself, I strode into the restaurant. As soon as I entered, I spotted Serena sitting by the window, looking sullen. The man sitting across from her was still chattering away. I felt a bit annoyed and walked over, sitting down right next to Serena. Serena was taken aback. How did you find this place? I glanced at the man across from us. I think I've seen him at some social events before. He seems to be the second son of some wealthy family. TSK, what an oddball. He thinks he can match up with Serena? I looked at Serena and ruffled her hair. My mom wants us to go home for dinner. Serena seemed a bit incredulous. I turned back to look at the man again. Hello, Rockey. What's your name? Hello, I'm Tony. Tisk, Peter's relative? Yeah. TSK, who introduced Serena to him. With Peter's family assets, they're not worthy of Serena. I looked discontentedly at the dishes on the table. Doesn't Serena have a mushroom allergy? A little bit will make her stomach feel bad all day. And this dish, it's so oily. This meat, TSK. It's so fatty. Serena doesn't like fatty food. And this, how can there be bitter melon? Serena can't eat this kind of stuff. Tony broke out in a sweat, apologized to us, and then got up to leave. He couldn't take a hit. Serena pinched my waist hard. Rockey, are you sick? I blinked innocently. Am I not stating the facts? Besides, if you're going on a blind date, isn't it normal for me to keep an eye on things? Serena irritably stood up, grabbed her bag, and was about to leave. I quickly grabbed her. Serena, don't be mad at me. Serena, why are you crying? I panicked and quickly freed a hand to wipe her tears. Serena, who bullied you? Tell me, and I'll help you teach them a lesson. Don't cry. Serena glared at me, directly hitting my chest with her bag. You're the one bullying me. Rockey, you're crazy. You got back together with Hailey, and now you're here ruining my blind date. Is it only okay for you to be happy? Am I not allowed to meet new people to find my own happiness? You jerk. Boo-hoo. I caught the key point. What, getting back together? Are you still pretending? Hailey proposed to you. I saw it. Hailey even messaged me, saying you agreed to her proposal. Boo-hoo, I was so stupid. I ran back home just for a blog post from you. I thought you would finally notice me, but you still chose Hailey. Rockey, do you like Hailey that much? Boo, can't you? Look at me for once. I excitedly grabbed Serena's hand. Serena, do you like me? I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. I won't like you anymore. Get lost. I hate you. Serena kept struggling, so I had no choice but to hold her tightly in my arms. I gently lowered my head and kissed her, soft and sweet as a person. I couldn't help but deepen the kiss. I kissed her for a long time before finally releasing her. I held her like a treasure, carefully enclosing her in my arms. Serena, I haven't gotten back together with her. I like you too. I'm sorry. I was too stupid to realize my feelings sooner. I almost missed out again. That was close, really close. I held Serena tightly, afraid she would disappear. After Serena and I became a couple, I immediately informed both of our parents. They were not surprised at all. What's there to be surprised about? We originally arranged a betrothal for you too. Oh, thank goodness, Rockey. Your brain has finally started working. I was worried you'd get addicted to wearing a green hat and really get back together with Hailey. I was speechless. How does everyone know I was cheated on? The two families quickly discussed the engagement date. Even we were only notified the day before the engagement. On the same day, Hailey contacted Serena, asking to meet. I felt uneasy, so I went with her. Hailey looked surprised when she saw me. I nodded and sat down with Serena. Miss Hailey, what's the matter? Please make it brief. Hailey silently took out a bank card and handed it to us. This is the money I owe for your previous help to my family. Without saying a word, Serena took the bank card and put it in her bag. I smiled and pinched her cheek. Little money lover. Serena snorted lightly, looking indifferently at Hailey. Does Miss Hailey have anything else? If not, we'll take our leave. I also hope Miss Hailey will send me fewer false messages in the future. Serena raised my hand and waved it at Hailey. Rockey is my person, claiming her territory. My Serena is really cute. I politely nodded to Hailey and got up to leave with Serena. After the engagement banquet, I specially designed a ring. On the day I received it, I invited our friends. In front of our friends, I knelt on one knee, pulled out the ring box, and proposed to my Serena. I knew she had never mentioned it, but she still minded. She minded the 7 years I spent with Hailey, but more than that, she was heartbroken for me. But I was even more heartbroken for her, for waiting for me all those years. But thankfully, we have many more 7 years to come. The past cannot be pursued, but the future can be hoped for. Epilogue. Hailey. They say those who are favored feel fearless. I always thought I was that favored one, whether in front of Peter or Rockey. But Peter wanted to break up, just because he was going abroad. I cried my heart out downstairs in his dorm, and he didn't even look at me again. Instead, it was Rockey, a stranger, who reached out an olive branch to me. I desperately grabbed him, pouring out my unwillingness. He listened patiently. He looked better than Peter, but it seemed he wasn't as rich as Peter. But as long as I could hit Peter where it hurt, it was fine. I started actively asking Rockey out. When the time was right, I confessed my feelings to Rockey. He agreed. I felt confident in my victory, but I was never happy. Even though Rockey treated me pretty well, I said I wasn't used to communal living, so he rented me a place off campus. Later, after I graduated, I casually complained to him about the inconvenient transportation. He then bought an apartment, making it easier for me to get around. I asked him, and he said his family started a small company. I guess that compared to Peter, it must be worlds apart. Later, my dad started gambling, abandoning my mom and me. My mom was chased for money by loan sharks every day. Just when I was like a headless fly, running into walls everywhere, things suddenly turned around. My mom said a very handsome man helped us pay off the debt. I instinctively thought of Peter. I contacted Peter and thanked him. As Peter replied to my message, my once calm heart began to race. I became increasingly dissatisfied with my relationship with Rockey. I started to act out, trying to force Rockey to initiate a breakup. But when he finally did, I was shocked to feel sad. Seeing that girl named Serena link arms with him made me furious. What right does Rockey have? He clearly dumped me, yet he's living so freely, with a beauty in his arms. I was so angry that I specifically waited outside, wanting to talk to Rockey. But Rockey actually wanted to kick me out. just for Serena? But didn't he deceive me too? He seemed so rich, yet pretended to be worthless. I was unwilling. I didn't want to hand Rockey over to someone else, but Rockey seemed truly determined, ignoring me completely. Even my tears couldn't compare to Serena's importance in his heart. It was clearly not like this before. I specially prepared a proposal and proposed to Rockey, but he was truly heartless, not caring about me at all. He even asked me to pay him back, even when I intentionally messaged Serena to deceive her. It couldn't stop Rockey's relationship with her, and the proposal incident made too much noise, which Peter found out about. He decisively broke up with me again. I took a sum of breakup money from him. The day before Rockey and Serena's engagement, I purposely contacted Serena, but I didn't expect Rockey to come. He completely disrupted my plan. I had to awkwardly pretend to hand over the bank card, but I didn't expect Serena to take it directly. And Rockey, all along, never looked at me. He doted on Serena, teasing her for being a little money lover. Did he ever treat me like that? It seems not. Rockey's attitude towards me had always been distant, always indifferent. I thought that was just his nature, but when I saw how he interacted with Serena, I deeply realized Rockey may have indeed liked me once, but compared to Serena, I lost utterly. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.